And we're back with another edition of Planet Philly, episode 2 since the return. Nick Earnshaw here, your host, alongside Jenn McGraw and Jason Joseph. We're back again. Remember, always though, before we get started for the show today, to follow us on all the social platforms at Planet Philly Pod. That's at Planet Philly Pod. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Facebook's a work in progress, but you can still search us up on there as well. And then you can also email us at planetphillypod@gmail.com. Always remember to find us on Spotify as well, and wherever else you get your podcast, wherever you want to listen. You want to go to Apple, you want to go to Spotify. If you want to go to YouTube, follow us on YouTube, subscribe. It's always a great time to hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel and watch us as well on there. You can also watch us on Spotify, which is great. I love the video aspect of Spotify. I mean, you can watch any podcast on there. You're going to watch Planet Philly on Spotify as well. But without further ado, Nick Earnshaw here alongside Jenn McGraw, Jason Joseph. We're going to get into it. Eagles training camps begun. Today of this recording, the 27th, they started their first practice. And, the report's saying Jalen Hurts looked pretty good out there. He made some pretty good throws. A.J. Brown out there in the Eagles uniform. Who doesn't love to see that? Alongside Devontae Smith. There was a video circulating around social media that he was, with the kids. He was signing autographs. They were so excited to see A.J. Brown. And guess what? He's an Eagle. That's all. He's my favorite receiver. He's been my favorite receiver since he was at Ole Miss. He got drafted in the second round. He was with the Titans. I take him every year in fantasy football, no matter what. He's now an Eagle. He's in bird green. We love to see it. But I want to bring in Jenn and Jason. Jenn, the Eagles are back. Training camp's upon us. I mean, it's the best time of the year. It's like Christmas. It's Christmas. It literally is Christmas in July.
That's actually kind of funny because off topic real quick. Tomorrow I'm going to see my old high school put on a show, and they're putting on Elf Jr., the musical.
No way.
It's
I love
actually Christmas in July, but I mean, this is our present, obviously, Eagles training camp starting today. Yeah, I mean, I was watching along as much as I could with the press conferences this morning. Howie Roseman and head coach Nick Sirianni, how could I forget his name? Of course, already. Sirianni talking about how he had high expectations for the Eagles last season, but also, continuing to have high expectations this season. And it was really cool to see, just, as we were talking about a little bit before hopping on, Hurts looks better. Hurts looks a lot better than he did last year. Last year, he had about 14 passes, and 5 of them were actually completed in the red zone. Had 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Not really the best. I mean, obviously, you'd rather, as I mentioned last week, you'd rather have something bad happen in training camp instead of during a game. But this year he looked a lot better. He looked a lot more composed, a lot more buckled down, serious, ready to go in the red zone. So that made me very happy. That made me very, relieved and calmed down, in terms of Hurts just being able to take responsibility and kind of just fix those mistakes he had last year. So I'm just really excited to see. I mean, that's just like my long story short spiel about it. I'm very excited to see where this team goes this year.
Yeah, I am too. I'm really excited. I believe in Jalen Hurts. I'm ready for him. I think he's going to take another step this year as the Eagles starting quarterback. I think he's going to earn a contract down the line, especially if everyone stays healthy. If they stay healthy, A.J. Brown's out there. You have Devontae Smith. You have a really good running back room. And, everyone's grading the Eagles offensive line as the best in the league. So, I mean, when you have all that around you, I think it really helps out a lot. I think Jalen Hurts as a passer, he doesn't need to have this big arm everyone talks about, Jason. And when you have receivers like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, that also helps you out a lot too. I'm very excited for Jalen Hurts. I'm all in. Jason, he's out there today for the first time. Looked pretty good. You excited about training camp getting going?
I mean, absolutely. He's been so far during this offseason, he's definitely had a incredible offseason where he was out in Miami, and he's been And honestly, today he looked really, really good out there. And AJ Brown, we saw that touchdown catch that he made in that video that's been going viral. It was a great throw. It was a great catch. I was surprised that Jalen Reagor, got a start today from training camp. He looked good out there today. But looking forward to, and I'm sure that we're going to talk about this, of course, as we get into week 1, but I don't know if he deserves to be that third wide receiver.
Oh,
I
goodness,
think that
no.
you have to go with AJ Brown. You have to go with AJ Brown, obviously. You have to go with Devontae Smith. And then third to me is Quez.
Quez.
It's
not even close. It's not even close, Jay. Quez is slam dunk number 3 receiver. Jalen Reagor is on the bubble, in my estimation. He is on the bubble. If he might not even make this roster. We saw how great he was. We saw how great he was last year in training camp. The great catch that he made, the one-hander in the practice last year, I believe that was against the Patriots, wasn't it? Their joint practices. I could not care less if he's on this roster. I really could. I don't care if Jalen Reagor makes this team. Listen, hopefully he has a good camp. Hopefully he goes out there and there's something to prove. But he has to show it, and he's been a failure as a first round pick since they drafted him a couple years ago. And you can go on my Twitter. I had a horrible take. I was excited about him, and he is really disappointed in these past 2 years. But hopefully, listen, I think this is a much deeper team, a much deeper wide receiver room than it has been in a long time, Jason.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is, we also saw that AJ Brown did have a fumble, but TJ Edwards did a nice job of recovering that. And I actually took that more as a positive. AJ Brown, sometimes like when you're just catching the ball, it's just going to slip. Okay. And TJ Edwards to me did a nice job on that play. I also really thought it was interesting how you had James Bradbury covering AJ Brown for the most part. And on Devontae Smith, you had Darius Slay. I wonder, of course, I'm sure that they are going to switch that up, but I liked what I saw just from both sides. And I feel like this offensive line, I know I'm like jumping all over the place, but this offensive line, it looks really good. You see Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Jurgens, Sumalo and Lane Johnson on that line. That's Howie Roseman's bread and butter. And we don't know like what's going to happen, of course, to some of these guys, because injuries, of course, are going to be a thing.
Right.
And I think that Jack Driscoll eventually and Andre Dillard, hopefully they stay healthy this season for sure. It wouldn't surprise me if Andre Dillard eventually during the season gets the start over Jordan Mailata. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think, injuries are going to happen. I'm very curious to see what happens with Dillard, if he gets moved at some point here in the preseason or before the trade deadline at some point this year. That's a very valuable piece the Eagles do have if they need to go out and get something else. Very excited. But Jason, I mean, you're not wrong for jumping all over the place. There's a lot of exciting things to talk about with this team. And, we put out a poll question earlier today, talking about the Eagles. The Eagles began training camp today. How many games can they win this year? And the lead vote getter, 10 plus wins. 10 plus wins. That's what people were thinking. The Eagles can get 10 or more wins. I'd probably go that route too. I think they can get 10. I don't think they get more than 10. I think they get 10 wins this year. They have a very easy schedule to open things up. I think that's a really big part of this. I mean, they don't have a ton of crazy teams, hard teams that they're going to have to play next to open up the year. So when that happens, I'm excited. I think 10 is a realistic number. Jen, would you agree? 10, 9, where are we at? 9 last year. Did they get 1 more, 2 more than last year? What do you think happens?
Yeah, so I took this poll earlier today, and I feel bad. An option on Twitter, but I digress, because I said I think one of the answers was like 7 and 9 or whatever. Yeah. So I said 9, but I really wanted to change it to 10 because, like you said, 10 feels like a very realistic, really easy to get number for the Eagles with this team in this season with the schedule that they have. I saw somebody, I don't know who quite said it, but a while back somebody said between like 7 and 9 wins would be like if all failed for the Eagles in the season. Between like 10 and 12 would be like if things went right. And then above that would be above expectation. So I think between 10 and 12 would be very realistic, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I'd be very happy if they walked away with 10, just 10 wins.
Yeah, I think 10's a good number. I really do. You start out with the Lions, Vikings, Commanders, Jags. I think you might be able to start the season undefeated. I mean, really, and in reality, you might as well could maybe one loss in there. Jason, I think 10 is a good number for the Eagles. One more win than last year. They upgraded the roster. There's going to be injuries. We know that happens every single year. Last year, the Eagles stayed relatively healthy. I will say they stayed relatively healthy than they had been in previous years. I mean, you remember the Super Bowl year. Everyone got hurt that year. Past couple of years, I mean, they've had the injury bug hit them. This year, it's bound to happen at some point, but I do think they still have so much depth, especially in the trenches, where they're going to be able to overcome it.
I don't just focus on the depth. The other thing, too, I also focused on is the landscape of what's going on in the NFC East. Okay,
right.
You look at the Washington Commanders. Is Carson Wentz really going to be that guy, that he was in 2017-18 with the Philadelphia Eagles? Probably not. You look at where the Giants are right now. The Giants are pretty much a dumpster fire, and they can just never get their heads on straight, and they have to change coaches and all that sort of stuff every single season, it seems like. But just from that sort of perspective, I feel like the Eagles can at least the bar has to be that they get into the playoffs and that they at least get 8 wins. I think that's a realistic standpoint, but also really, I think I just contradicted myself a little bit there, because of course they're gonna have to get more than 8 wins if they want to get to the playoffs. But I digress. But I honestly think that with the way that this team is now, all eyes to me are going to be on Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon, because there's no excuses this year. We saw in the very beginning of last season, what did we all emphasize on Rowan Radio? That the Eagles have to run the football. We kept saying, and finally Sirianni actually listened to us, and he did, as the season progressed, and he did his part. Jonathan Gannon didn't do his part, and I'm not letting him off the hook here. They didn't have the roster pieces that I think that now sort of fit into his defensive scheme, if that makes sense. But if the defense is giving up, I'd say like 17 to 20 points per game, all eyes are going to be on Jonathan Gannon there.
Yeah, I think you make a good point with Gannon, because Gannon, he would infuriate me last season, and they got no pressure on the quarterback. I mean, none. I mean, they were at the bottom of the league, bottom of the barrel in blitz percentage last year for a long period of time. And when you're unable to get to the quarterback and generate pressure, it causes a lot of problems. And that's what they did so well during the Super Bowl years. They got to the quarterback. It starts up front, whether it's on the offensive side or the defensive side, and they go out, they get Jordan Davis, they get Hassan Reddick. They want to be able to generate that pressure without blitzing a lot, because that's just how Jonathan Gannon is. He won't blitz, which is fine, but you bring in Reddick, you bring in Jordan Davis, you have Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham will be back this year. We don't know how much we'll get out of him.
That's an addition in itself, too.
Yeah. So listen, I think they have. Yeah. I think they'll be able to get to the quarterback. I mean, we want to see what kind of step that Josh Sweat also takes. I need to see a little more out of him as well. I think he had a good year last year, but I think he needs to be a little bit better, especially with the contract that he was given. Go ahead, Jason.
And just one more point. I do feel like that the weakest point, I'd say, on this team is just the secondary. I don't know about Anthony Harris. I don't know what type of season he's going to have. I understand that they also lost Steve Nelson. I do, of course. I do feel like Bradbury's going to have a good season. I do feel like that with the New York Giants, he was in a very tough situation. And now he's not going to have to be like that number one cornerback. He's not going to have to be guarding those like top wide receivers, and he'll be able to guard like, the number 2 sort of guys. And I feel like that's also going to take pressure. I think that's also going to take pressure off of Darius Slay too. But if we're just looking at all the pieces to this team, I do feel like that's probably the weakest point, but that's a good weakness to have.
Yeah. I think they're better in the secondary than they have been. But the safeties still concern me. Harris, I mean, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. They bring in Tart, right? Out of
Yes,
San
correct.
Francisco.
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, they brought him in as well. What do you have out of Marcus Epps? He's an undrafted. He was signed here as an undrafted free agent. What do you have out of him? How much is he going to be able to give you? Some people say he's being undervalued. All right, let me see it then. I would like to see what we can get out of him for sure. But this defense, very, very interesting. And they lost Rodney McLeod, a friend of Planet Philly, from last season too. So yes, so no Rodney McLeod either. So that's the safety position is going to be what I'm looking at for the defensive side of things. But let's move to the offensive side of the ball. AJ Brown, the Eagles get him on a draft night mega trade to bring him into Philadelphia. But I want to know, Jen, what does this mean for Devontae Smith? I saw a clip today that had his over-under at rushing yards. They were talking about, or not rushing yards, receiving yards at 825. Do you think he can have 1,000-yard season this year?
I think so. I feel like, when you bring in a veteran wide receiver such as AJ Brown, that you might be more inclined to kind of sweep Devontae Smith under the rug, because now you've got this wide receiver who knows what he's doing. Not to say that Smitty doesn't, but now you've got AJ Brown. I've been watching those press conferences. It's tough. Now you got AJ Brown, but I think AJ Brown will both relieve a lot of pressure from Devontae Smith, but also allow Devontae Smith to go out and be able to have an exceptional year too. I'm not sure if he will get 1,000 yards, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I just think that having both these wide receivers is going to be able to relieve pressure off of each other. And not to mention, AJ Brown has chemistry with Jalen Hurts. Devontae Smith has chemistry with Jalen Hurts. So all we need is that AJ Brown and Devontae Smith kind of connection, and then we've got a great trio to be able to play off of each other and be really really spooky, come next season.
Yeah, I'm excited for Devontae Smith, Jason, because I think AJ Brown's going to draw more attention than Devontae Smith will, clearly. And I think that might open up things for Devontae Smith as well as Quez Watkins to go down the field too. So I think the acquisition of getting a bona fide number one receiver, and if he could stay healthy, is going to help these young receivers, open things up and get a lot of playing time and get a lot of receptions this year.
Just to also add on to your point, relating this to the Sixers, when we said that James Harden was going to be such a great acquisition for the Sixers, we talked about one of the main reasons why was because now you couldn't double team Joel, and a lot of double teams were coming in at Joel, and sometimes he would literally get triple teamed. It's the same sort of concept now with Devontae and AJ. But this is what you also have to remember. If Jalen Hurts is throwing the ball too much, I think that could be trouble for the Eagles.
I think when it comes to, I think they're going to still stick to the run game. I think they're not going to go with, I think you're going to see Jalen Hurts throw the ball a little bit more than last year. I totally 100% see that. I think maybe I'd say about 5, 6, 7 more times, maybe a game, you're going to throw the ball with Jalen Hurts more this year. Somewhere in that ballpark, maybe. But I still think it's going to be a run-heavy offense. I really do. And when you're able to run the ball, it's going to open up things for Jalen Hurts. And I think when you have two dominant receivers like this, and then don't forget about Quez, because Quez can burn you. And if he's able to stay healthy, I think he's going to be a receiver to watch for. So with that, talking about these receivers, talking about the defense, talking about all Eagles, Jen, your bold prediction this year heading into the season.
So I've seen a lot of people talking about between yesterday and today that the Eagles are going to win the NFC East. We saw it on one of the sports shows today, just seen it all throughout Twitter. But I kind of want to take it a step further. I mean, this is a bold prediction for a reason. In the NFC East, we have the Commanders, which I would not be shocked if the Eagles won both times, both matchups there. The Giants, I mean, last season we said that, and the Giants ended up winning a game. So hopefully the Eagles can manage to buckle down and win against both Giants games. Cowboys, little iffy there, but the Cowboys that are coming into this season are not the same Cowboys that were the team last season. I mean, they have a great defense, but we also have now a great defense. So I don't only think that the Eagles are going to win the NFC East. I kind of see them sweeping the NFC East as a bold prediction,
I like
much
it.
like the Cowboys did last year.
I like it. That's a really good one. Jason, how about you? Your bold prediction for the Eagles this season?
So Jake Elliott had a really good season last year. And I know that we don't really talk too much about the kicker, but I thought he was tremendous. I don't know if he can keep that up this year, and the special teams in general. So I'm going to say that my bold prediction is that special teams is also going to be a question mark this season. And that could actually, like, I would say that if the games are really close, if it's like 27-24 and you're going to need, like a defense or you're going to need a field goal or something like that, I do feel like that could come back and bite the Eagles.
Okay. Listen, we've seen kicking drama on a lot of different teams over the years. Hopefully it's not with the Eagles, Jason. Hopefully. We're going to hope it's not what's going to happen, but hey, anything's possible. My bold prediction though, not Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, the first round pick, he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. That is my bold prediction. I think he's going to have a monster rookie season with the Eagles. I think he's going to generate a lot of pressure and get a good amount of sacks. He's going to, force the quarterback to make bad throws. He's going to force fumbles. He's just a gigantic human being. And I think Jordan Davis is going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year this year. That's going to be my bold prediction.
Who's the runner-up? I have to ask.
Nakobe Dean's going to be the runner-up, Jason. Nakobe Dean's going to be the runner-up. That's who's going to be the runner-up this year. But yeah, that'll be my bold prediction for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, we know where the Eagles play. They play at Lincoln Financial Field. A lot of big events. One recently just announced that is going to be held at the Link, though, is Wrestlemania 40. Wrestlemania is coming back to Philadelphia. Jen, I saw you tweeting all about it today. And, I think it's going to be a great event for Philadelphia as we're getting so many of them as we move along. WrestleMania 40. What do you make of it? What do you think about it coming to Lincoln Financial Field?
I think it's going to be incredible because, I mean, anytime there's any event held at the Link, for example, the Weekends tour, last week or 2 weeks ago, you're always going to have energy at the stadium. I mean, like people talk about, and I also talk about like the financial benefits that it's going to bring to the city and the stadium and whatnot, but just the energy and the event itself is going to be super fun. And the people that are going to be around are going to be full of energy. So, I mean, that's what I would be most looking forward to. But not only that, obviously, as I just touched on, the financial benefits that's going to come from this event and, many other major events that are coming in the next few years are going to really help Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think so. I love it. Jason, WrestleMania is back to Philadelphia. You going? Are you gonna attend? Are you gonna try and attend WrestleMania? Maybe Jeff Hardy comes out again or something. I don't know. I remember watching him. Remember the Undertaker? I think the Undertaker retired now. I don't know if he's still there, but yeah, WrestleMania is back.
I'm not really much of a WrestleMania guy, but the thing that I'm looking forward to is I have to say, the World Cup.
Yes, that's a great one.
The World Cup to me is my number one because FIFA, biggest sport around the world, and to be able to have something that's international something that's national come into not just the US but to Philadelphia, I think that's great for so many different reasons. It builds relationships with people. And it also builds partnerships, and partnerships go a really long way, especially in sports. And I think that it can also, bring revenue to the, to the city. And I feel like it's just so good on so many different levels, and more fans of Philadelphia will actually get more interested in FIFA soccer as well. And that could also potentially help the union as well.
Yeah,
And
I
increase their
agree.
viewership.
Yeah,
So
that's gonna be an exciting one.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That's going
Yeah,
to be exciting.
that's gonna be a good one. Jen, you mentioned too how you were excited about the World Cup coming to Philadelphia. I mean, that's gonna be a huge event. I mean, the soccer matches, they go crazy. They're insane. I mean, that's one I think that we might have to take a Planet Philly trip to or something. Even WrestleMania. I think all of them. I think all of them we have to attend. Even the MLB All-Star games coming to Philly too in 26, and the WrestleMania is in 24.
You know how like they have sorry. Really quickly. I all I wanted to say is, you know how like they have like those radio shows like Live at Chickies and Pete's, or
Yeah,
like, you know, Devon Gibbons will like you know, be at like some restaurant like right before like an Eagles game starts. Like we should do that.
I'm with it. I'm with it. Jen, your thoughts?
Totally down for that too. Yeah, I mean, same thing as I said for WrestleMania, same thing for the FIFA World Cup. But you know, even if we can't make it out to the link for the World Cup, they're also coming to MetLife in the New York, New
You're
Jersey
right.
area. So I mean,
Yes.
like, it's really cool for our area just because not a lot of big things really happen in our area. I mean, not a lot of like internationally known things happen in our area. So when they do happen, it's pretty cool. And
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to attend all of them. I think the top of my list has to be the MLB All-Star game. That's at the top of my list, no doubt. Home Run Derby is a bucket list event I need to attend. That I think we're gonna go to that one. That one we're going to. That one's no doubt a trip we're taking to Citizens Bank Park, because that Home Run Derby is gonna be nuts. They're gonna be flying out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
And hopefully Bryce Harper's in it. That'd be cool. Or Schwarber, somebody.
Or
I don't know.
both.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be Castellanos at this point. You know, with the way he's been playing lately, but you know, we'll see what happens. We'll
Are you
see
going to
what
be in
happens.
center field? Are you going to be in center field?
Am I going to be in center field? What, in the bushes? What, do
Yeah.
you want me out there in the bushes? Okay, listen.
No. Are you going to be like catching like the fly balls out there?
Oh, you want me? Oh, you mean on the field? Oh my.
Yeah. Like on the field.
You know, I would like to. I think they put like a lot of
Yeah.
kids out there. I might be a little too old. But you know, we'll see. But yeah, let's go into right field. I think right or left field we'll get like, you know, somewhere in the middle, good home run spot. That's where we're gonna go.
Just use your Rowan college ID.
I'm bringing two gloves. I'll bring a lefty and a righty glove. I'll bring two gloves. But we're gonna move on here on Planet Philly to talk some Phillies and talk some baseball. The Phillies, they slumped coming out of the All-Star break. I mean, getting swept by the Chicago Cubs. I mean, that was just utterly just a complete disaster for the Phillies coming out of the break. But hey, they picked it back up. They get a series win against the division rival Atlanta Braves. Really big series for the Phillies. Alec Boehm has been on a tear as of late. Jen, I mean, the Phillies, you know, they start off after the break really slow against a bad team in the Cubs. They come back and win a series against division rival. I don't know where you put this team at this point. What do you make of how they've played in these past few games?
so something that is always I've always kind of learned and I've seen with different teams through the years is back many years ago when I was in high school. And I can say that because it's been about like 4 or 5 years for all of us now. I was a like water girl for my school's football team, so I was basically on a varsity football team, but it's fine. And so one of the things that the coach always talked about was like playing as a group of individuals versus playing as a team. And there's a very big difference between playing as a group of individuals on a team and playing as a team. So for the Phillies, I don't think that's necessarily their problem. But I think that they kind of lost their footing after the break, after the All-Star break, and not necessarily played as a group of individuals, but they weren't really playing as a cohesive team, and they needed a couple games, it looked like, to really get that back, especially are ahead. I don't know exactly what their the Phillies. So the Phillies need to be able to consistently play in a cohesive team. Like I said, the individuality problem is not really an issue for the Phillies, but it wasn't necessarily that great coming out of the all.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. I mean, they just did not seem like they were playing as a cohesive unit. Not a lot of great at bats, not being patient at the plate, some bad strikeouts. I mean, the other night against the Braves, I mean, they really got saved by Bryson Stott. That game, was it the first game of the series? I think. Yeah, I mean, if Bryson Stott doesn't hit that home run, I mean, we could be looking at a totally different series here against Atlanta. And it's always good to get against a division rival. I mean, the Phillies they're in a tight race, Jason, here in the wild card standings. I mean, they're right there with St. Louis. They're going to go back and forth as the season progresses, but where they're at right now, I mean, what's your biggest concern at this point?
Guys staying healthy. That's really my number one biggest concern right there. I want Zach Eflin to be healthy, and I want Bryce Harper to be able to come back. I don't know what we're going to get out of Bryce. That's a big question mark. I want Jean Segura to come back, and I want to make sure that my two top guys in the starting rotation, Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, don't get hurt, because I really do feel like that is probably the biggest Achilles heel for the Phillies has just been health. But the other thing besides that is I want to see what this team can do at the trade deadline. That would be my number two sort of, I don't know what the right word is. I can't necessarily think about it. But if I'm making a list of something that, that the Phillies have to be on the lookout for as far as what's going to happen towards the end of the season, it would have to be that. I want them to get another starting pitcher. I think that they definitely could. I don't know who they're going to have to give up. We can talk about, should they give up Mick Abel? Should they give up Andrew Painter and those types of guys? I don't think so, but that's a whole nother discussion. I just feel like the trade deadline and staying healthy, throughout the rest of the season, those are the two big things I'm looking for in this Phillies team.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. And Jen, when Jean Segura comes back, when Bryce Harper comes back, will that feel like a move in and of itself? I mean, if they don't make a major move at the deadline, getting those guys back, do you think that will really elevate this team to maybe another level, to instead of this back and forth win loss type of team they've been right now, kind of streaky as of late?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be a move in and of itself, only because, kind of going off of what I was talking about earlier, the whole playing as individuals versus playing as a team, that's a really big inconsistency. And that's something that the Phillies faced a lot this season, some for reasons under their, not under their control, and then obviously for some reasons in their control. So having Segura and having Harper back, I think, is going to be really crucial. But I also am kind of upset about this, just because, not with them coming back, I would love for them to come back, but it always seems like in Philly sports that there's one or a small group of star players, and then when that star player gets injured, the team just kind of drops a little bit. So in this case, obviously, it was Harper and Segura. Having them come back we shouldn't be asking this question. Having them come back shouldn't be a move in and of itself for it to elevate the team, because the team should have been able to continue without Harper, and continue bringing the energy that they need to bring each week. So unfortunately, I do think this would be a move in and of itself. But that being said, that's also kind of a positive thing.
Yeah, I think it will be kind of a boost. It will definitely be a boost, bringing these guys back, depending on how Harper is. I mean, we know the elbow. I mean, the thumb is what's going to bring him back. When that's healed, he's still going to have the elbow issue. But you get Segura back, who's been a very consistent hitter throughout his entire career, especially here with the Phillies, Jason. We know we're I think all of us are in agreement. They have to get some pitching, whether it's in the bullpen or whether it is starting. And I think that's going to be the mindset. Center field, it is what it is. I feel like at this point, do you go get a bat? Are you going to give up Mick Abel to go get a top flight bat? I just don't see that happening. You can't give up an Andrew Painter just yet either, because what else are you going to have left to develop for this team? They're in a very difficult spot with how their farm system has been laid out, Jason, the past few years. So yeah, you're going to get Bryce and Gene back. You can look at that as a move, after the deadline as well, when when you get into crunch time, when you get down to the wire of the season. But they have to do something. They have to improve somehow, some way. It's going to be hard not to give up some of these top flight prospects.
I also am with you as well. I also just going back to what you said about bringing Bryce and bringing Gene back as additions to the team. You also have to remember too, one of those guys in the infield is going to have to be on the bench.
Right.
Is it going to be Didi? Is it going to be Bryson Stott? Is it going to be Alec Bohm some of those times? I actually feel like that's also a boost as well, because this team doesn't have as much depth on their bench. And part of it's because guys are getting hurt. Guys are getting injured. And the other addition, I don't know if Nick Castellanos slander is allowed on Planet Philly, but before I do that, I have to ask you, is it allowed?
Allowed? Yeah, I kind of just ripped him a couple of minutes ago. So I mean,
yeah. Step up. You have to be an acquisition too at the trade deadline, because that was the acquisition in the offseason, and we did not expect this. We did not expect this so far. Very disappointing, and it's so frustrating because I've been saying for the past, I said in the very beginning of the season, I didn't think he was going to have such a great April. I thought he was just going to, try to get into the groove of things. And then I thought maybe him playing right field was a problem. And then they put him at the DH spot and they kept him in the 3 and the 4th spot. And then we were thinking, the All-Star break might help him. I'm furious. I'm furious with what I've been with what I haven't seen out of him so far.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's been a little brutal for Nick Castellanos at this point in the season, but we'll see. We'll see if the Phillies are going to make a move here at the deadline at this point in the season. But we're getting down to that point. The trade deadline is approaching fast, so hopefully we have a trade to talk about very soon in the time being. But I want to switch gears to a little fun segment that a segment I want to talk about because I've seen it on social media. Our Philly Mount Rushmore. I've seen some debate about this. What's your criteria? What is this? How do you want to go about it? And, I think mine is pretty fair. I might have a controversial one, but Jen, I'll let you start. What is your Philly Mount Rushmore?
So I kind of took a different approach to this. I hope that's okay, because I pulled, if I'm being honest, right from the article I wrote about the same kind of topic a couple weeks ago. So I picked Eagles fans, but you can kind of argue that they are just Philly fans in general, because the criteria that I had for this was just the passion for not only the Eagles, but the city of brotherly love at large. So my 4 Eagles/Philly sports fans kind of Mount Rushmore is the Philly sports guy. He had to obviously be on the list. If you don't know him, he's the guy who paints his face every Flyers, Phillies, Sixers, Eagles, and Union games. I just want to know how much he spends on paint, like face paint, a year, first and foremost, but just the passion is why he definitely had to be on there. And I feel like not a lot of people are talking about that. Monty G is another, just because that same kind of passion. He's got like the Eagles hat that you can pull something and like the Eagles like wings flap or whatever. Hakeem Laws, aka the unlike Aguilar guy. I will never let that video go. That video was super funny, and it's just there's passion there when you've got a fire happening and you're trying to get a bunch of people to safety, and you can still talk about the Eagles. That's passion right there. And then lastly, I don't want to butcher his name, but I believe it's Jigar Desai, which is the SEPTA guy. A little less known, but I if you're a Philly fan, you probably know of him. He was getting a bunch of people hyped up before, I believe, an Eagles game or after an Eagles game or something. And he was not chasing after, but he was running alongside a SEPTA train and ran into something. It looked like her
ran into the pole. Yeah.
I'm super happy he's alive and doing well, because that looked like it hurt. That could have been very dangerous, but he's alive and well, so it made for kind of a funny video. So those are my Philly sports fans, Eagles-ish
I
Mount
like
Rushmore.
it. I like it. You put a nice twist on it. That was great. And Jason's just dying because he's reliving that video. I know the exact video you're talking about. He running alongside the train and he runs right into the pole. I mean, just pole, I guess, like beam or whatever you want to call it. That video was great. That was one of the best videos of all time. Jason, can you follow that up? I'm not gonna be able to follow it up. I just picked players. I went players. That was great. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Jason.
Oh man, that really threw me off, the whole thing, but I love it. I really love it. I don't even know if I should be laughing at that video or not, because I kind of feel
no,
bad,
it's hilarious. That's gold. That is gold. That was golden.
I'm gonna go with players too, but I love that, Jen. I love
that was awesome.
that so
Thank
much.
Thank you.
But yeah, of course. So I'm gonna go with players here. When I look at the Mount Rushmore, I think about the faces of the 4 major sports. And if I'm being honest with you, I have every single representative of the 4 major sports in my Mount Rushmore, because I just feel like that's just how you have to do it.
Yeah, you have to.
So number 4 to me is Carter Hart. I think that we can agree that you have to build the team around him now. He's the guy that is the centerpiece for the Philadelphia Flyers now. He's the leader of the team. It's not Claude Drew anymore. We all know that because he went to the Panthers, but I would say as of right now, he is the face of their franchise, and he still has a lot of time to grow. Still has a lot of time to improve, and not everything was his fault last season. It's also about just, the guys that are on the blue ice with him, and guys just not stepping up and that sort of thing. So I would say that he's the face of the Flyers, and he's on the Mount Rushmore. I would say that number 3, and this is an obvious choice here, it has to be Jalen Hurts. I do feel like Jalen Hurts has to be the face of the Eagles right now. It's not just because he's the quarterback, but also it's just because he has to be the leader. That's really what being a quarterback is about. How's he going to grow this season? What types of things is he going to do that rallies the troops together? Can't speak, but you know what I'm trying to say here. I feel like as of right now, he's the leader of that team. So he's on my Mount Rushmore. And then number 2 to me is Bryce Harper, because he is the face of the Phillies. He is the second best athlete in Philadelphia. And the fact that he was having a better season than he did last year as an MVP is just unbelievable, especially for a baseball player to be able to do that. That's unheard of. And the fact that we got to see him play every single day, I also feel like adds so much value to him being in that number 2 spot. And number 1 to me is Joel Embiid. I think Joel Embiid is the best Philadelphia sports athlete as of right now, and it's not even close. And that's no disrespect to Bryce Harper. It's no disrespect to Jalen, and it's no disrespect to Carter. The thing that separates Joel is that, first of all, the NBA is a league that is just filled with stars. It's not as much team-oriented as. So I do feel like Joel is the standout guy in Philadelphia. He also, with his energy and with his enthusiasm and just the way that he plays with the bully ball offense and defense, that is what Philly is all about. And the fans love him. And everybody that is in the city has to go watch this guy play. He also brings together a group of people that are just hockey fans and just football fans and don't even follow basketball, just because he's just must-watch television. And I think that that's what makes him so valuable. And he's number 1 on my Mount.
I love Rushmore. I love it. I also love, we all did different takes of the Philly Mount Rushmore. We went fans, we went current, and I went old school. I went all time. I think, and I didn't pick Joel Embiid because I don't think he's there yet. He's not there yet. I don't believe he's there all time yet. For me, there's no order, but I did use all 4 of the major sports teams. So with the Phillies, number 1, I have to go Mike Schmidt. Mike Schmidt has to be Hall of Fame third baseman. Has hit over 500 home runs in his career. I think no doubt he's one of the best players, if not the best player in Phillies franchise history. He's got to represent the baseball for this city. And I think Mike Schmidt had to be on here as number 1 with the Philadelphia Phillies. Number 2 with Allen Iverson of the Philadelphia 76ers. I think if Joel Embiid gets it done, Joel Embiid overtakes Iverson on this list for my Mount Rushmore. If he gets it done, if he gets a title, he brings a title to this town, Joel Embiid will, I think, be considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Sixer of all time. Now, you have Dr. J, you got Moses, you have Iverson. I mean, there's so many other names. But Joel Embiid has a few more good years, brings a title to the 76ers. He switches out with Iverson, but you can't knock Iverson. I mean, what he did for this team, bringing that team to the 0-1 finals, didn't get it done, but he has been a transcendent talent in this town, a transcendent name here in the city of Philadelphia. So he goes on my list as well. Number 3 for the Philadelphia Flyers, Bobby Clark, arguably the greatest Flyer of all time, won cups with the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, you haven't seen cups since then. You've been back. Flyers have been back a few times since the mid 70s, but have not been able to get it done. So Bobby Clark has to go on there as well. But finally, might catch some heat for this one. But Nick Foles has to be on the Mount Rushmore. He brought this city a championship. He won the Super Bowl. He will forever, ever be the face of that team when they won the Super Bowl. No doubt in my mind. The backup quarterback got it done. What's more Philly than an underdog in Nick Foles? He has to be on the Mount Rushmore. There's no doubt. Obviously, could have went Reggie White. Could have went so many other names, so many other ways. But Nick Foles won a title in this town. He got the job done. And as a backup, nearly probably could have brought him back the following year as well if Alshon Jeffrey makes a catch. Nick Foles has to be on this list the way he played it. That Super Bowl, that playoff run will never be forgotten. It will never be forgotten. And it will never be matched or topped. So Nick Foles will be my final Philadelphia Eagle, Philadelphia athlete on my Mount Rushmore. Jen and Jason. Jen, you can go first. And then Jason, any responses to that?
I mean, I agree. I definitely agree there. He's the first person or the first Philadelphia Eagle to bring a title, or the first quarterback, I should say, to really bring a title to Philadelphia. So I under that criteria, I'd have to agree. I definitely have to.
Jason, do you I saw you make a little bit of a face on the Foles one.
Well, it was weird because I had to kind of let it sink in first, but you're right. No, like you're absolutely right. And I think about all the Eagles greats like B-Doc and all the other guys that came even before Nick Foles. And a lot of them weren't able to get it done.
Yeah.
And the Eagles don't win that Super Bowl if it weren't for Nick Foles.
Yeah. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So, but see, the thing I go back and forth with is, okay, he's not the best Eagle of all time. He's clearly not that guy.
No, he's not. He's not. It's just the Mount Rushmore. Rushmore. And winning is very, very important to this list. Iverson didn't do it, but he was extremely close. He was extremely close, and he was a figure in this town. So that's why I chose him.
My other thing that I wanted to ask you too is, did you consider Jimmy Rollins being on the Mount Rushmore for the Phillies?
I did. I considered him and Chase Utley for
Doc?
this list. Doc did not play here long enough. Could not do it. I could not do it. Doc did not play here long enough. I mean, obviously great. I mean, the run he had with the Phillies, it was just too short-lived for me to put him on the Mount Rushmore.
Maybe I'm putting a little bit too much pressure on him, because I tend to do that sometimes because I'm in love with this kid. But Tyrese Maxey, it wouldn't surprise me one day he's on the Mount Rushmore.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. Oh, that's a lot of pressure for Mr. Maxey. Listen, I think he's going to take a jump. I really do. I think he's going to take a big jump heading into next season. But hey, I liked all these lists, to be honest. I think all these lists had their own little pizzazz, I guess you could say, to them. They were great. That was a really fun segment. But as time is winding down, you know what we have to do to end the show? We have to go Space Jam. What have we been listening to? Jen, what have you been listening to this past week since last week's episode?
So I guess it's just going to be a theme for me now to pick albums that like tell a story, or kind of like you have to listen kind of in order to kind of get it. And I'm kind of throwing it back just a little bit. I mean, like just a little before the pandemic. So not really much of a throwback, but as weird as it sounds, I kind of dig the Euphoria soundtrack.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
All right.
They have a lot of good songs on there. They've got obviously the show's main song, All For Us, by Labyrinth, and then the version by Zendaya. Both of them are very fantastic artists. I love what Labyrinth was able to do with this soundtrack. And then obviously the song that everybody knows by Labyrinth, Still Don't Know My Name. So I love this album. I love the show too. It's definitely a guilty pleasure, but even if you don't watch the show, the soundtrack.
I think that's a great answer. I like it a lot. Hey, you're gonna be better than my answer. It's gonna be better than my answer probably. So, Jason, what have you been jamming? What have you been space jamming here?
I've been jamming out to a lot of stuff, but I'll be honest with you guys. Last night, I'm going back to my car after the Blue Rocks game.
Okay.
And I decided to go for a walk. Okay. And I see Brianna, I see Paul, and then I see Barry. And I texted this to Barry today. If you haven't done so, like go follow Barry on Twitter. Barry Andres. Barry's the man, and Brianna and Paul too. But anyhow, I was taking a walk last night, and I was like, "Ooh, do I want to listen to Ariana Grande or do I want to listen to the Beatles?"
Oh, that's a tough choice.
And you know what? Last night I had to go with Ari because I was in like the type of vibe where it was just like I need something slow. I need something that is just that's gonna get me through the night. Something I can kind of jam out to. And this is no disrespect to the Beatles because I love the Beatles, but I told this to Barry today. Like the Beatles are gonna come back. The Beatles will come back. But Ari had to take the jump last night.
Yeah,
she had to take the mic from me.
You can't go wrong with Ariana Grande. You never can go wrong with Ariana Grande. You got Problem. You got a ton of different. So 7 Rings. I mean, you just can't go
Dangerous
wrong.
Woman album.
Oh, that's a classic. It's a classic.
Classic.
That's a classic. I like it, Jason. I like it. When Adele last week, Ariana Grande this week. All right. Listen, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't change. I have not changed. And here's the reason why. I now have the CD.
Stop.
Oh
my gosh.
To Logic's new album, Vinyl Days. My phenomenal girlfriend got it for my birthday. So it's a great gift. I'm a weirdo. I will collect CDs still, and I play them in the car. I have a ton. I still have a ton for albums I like. So I'm still listening to Logic and Vinyl Days. That's still what I'm going with. So I have the CD now, and I've been playing that in the car. So
good for you. Good for you.
Still going with Vinyl Days. But Jen, Jason, as always, great job. Had a lot of fun here on Planet Philly. Episode 2. We're two down. Only like 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 more to go here on Planet Philly. But remember, always follow us at Planet Philly Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Also search us up on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, wherever you're able to listen to them. And then you can also email us at planetphillypod@gmail.com. Also follow Jen and Jason on Twitter and all the socials as well. They'll be tagged in all the Planet Philly stuff. So just hit their little handle there and follow them too. But thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been another edition of Planet Philly. We'll see you next time.